Good evening. I'm Tom Brokaw with NBC Nightly News. Investigators tonight still are trying to determine just what went wrong with Japan Airlines Flight 123, the 747 that crashed, killing more than 500 people. Whatever it was that caused the crash, it was a real horror story. One of the 4 survivors, an off-duty flight attendant, said a section of the plane's ceiling lifted off after a loud bang. She could see blue sky, then mountains as the plane pitched and rolled. The cabin filled with a white mist. The crash came with 3 jolts. Lloyd Dobbins in Tokyo tonight reports the investigation is now centered on the plane's tail.
Officials now say there simply is no possibility that there are any more survivors from Japan Airlines Flight 123 that crashed Monday evening. 4 people lived through it. 520 did not. Investigators want to find out what caused it. The voice and flight recorders were found today, and that should help the investigation. Boeing Aircraft, which made the 747, and the National Transportation Safety Board have both sent people to help find out what went wrong. But a mystery has developed. Pilot Masami Takahama, whose body was found and identified today, reported that the right rear door was broken. That's his word. Now the door has been found intact. But a 26-year-old stewardess who was flying as a passenger in the rear of the plane and survived says she didn't notice any problem with the door, but she heard a loud bang at the upper rear of the plane. After that, she says, the plane started what the airlines call a Dutch roll, pitching and yawing and out of control. That was probably caused by the loss of all or some of the tail fin, parts of which have been picked up off the coast of Japan at about the spot where the pilot radioed that he had lost control. After that, Flight 123 turned inland toward the mountains, began a steep dive, and crashed in pieces. Hiroaki Kono, the airline chief of maintenance, now says he thinks a pin holding the tail fin may have broken. But until the investigators find physical evidence, that is an educated guess. Airline President Yasumoto Takagi has offered to resign, but apparently has been told to stay on until the investigation is complete. For the moment, soldiers and police are concentrating on getting the bodies of victims off the mountain. 121 have been taken by helicopter to a temporary morgue about 30 miles away. There, 2,000 relatives and friends wait to help identify the remains. But so far, fewer than 40 bodies have been identified. Lloyd Dobbins, NBC News, Tokyo.
In this country, people living along the Texas-Louisiana coast are waiting for Danny tonight. That's a storm that's now been officially designated a hurricane. As these radar pictures show, the hurricane is moving slowly northwest. It is expected to go ashore sometime tonight. Also coming up on this program tonight, James Polk with good news about a major development in liver cancer treatment. Brian Ross with a special segment report tonight on this man, Bohdan Kozy, a Nazi on the run. John Hart tonight remembers VJ Day 40 years ago. The long, brutal war with Japan was over at last.
Your days go by fast. Your work never seems to end.
That's why Whirlpool refrigerators are designed to make your world a little easier. Our most advanced model has a new monitoring and control system you can program for maximum cooling, and our famous no-fingerprint doors. Whirlpool, quality appliances.
We're making your world a little easier. Whirlpool makes it easier for you.
How's it going, Josie?
Oh, the usual. We all get scrubbed, but then they forget about me.
Me too. I don't usually look very clean or seem very fresh. Harriet, darling! She always looks so fresh and clean. How do you do it, dear?
Why, Automatic Vanish. It's marvelous. Vanish dispenses tough detergents to help clean and deodorize me. The clean goes on and on. The blue proves it's working.
Your family must love having you around.
Automatic Vanish. The clean goes on and on and on.
Does uric acid work fast enough?
It seems to take forever.
Does uric acid last long enough?
No, I've got to take it again.
Maybe uric acid isn't strong enough. Try new double-strength Mylanta 2. Mylanta 2 has nearly double the antacid medicine, nearly double the anti-gas medicine, nearly double the acid-neutralizing power of any leading brand.
That's real relief, with the double strength difference.
Double strength, that's my kind of difference.
New Mylanta 2.
Special segment tonight, a Brian Ross exclusive report on this man, Boudin Cozy, a Nazi on the run from American authorities. As we learn in this story, Cozy managed to lead a peaceful, prosperous life in this country after the war, but no more.
Early this year, a foreigner with a lot of money arrived in these hills outside San Jose, Costa Rica, moved into this house, hired servants, and began to set up a coffee plantation. The foreigner, known around here as a retired Italian businessman who likes to garden, is actually an accused Nazi executioner, Boudin Cozy, who fled here after American authorities caught up with him in Florida. Cozy is said to have personally carried out the murders of many Jewish women and children during World War II. Cozy was a policeman in the Ukraine when the Germans invaded. And according to American authorities, it was Cozy and other Ukrainian policemen who did much of the dirty work for the Nazis, rounding up and killing Jews. 243,000 Jews and other civilians murdered here. Cozy's name and face still evoke horror from those who knew him in the Ukraine. This Russian woman, videotaped by American prosecutors who went to the Soviet Union, picked out Cozy's picture from 8 she was shown and said he was the policeman who killed several Jewish children in the town square and then posed for pictures, laughing about it. Another witness recalled the day Cozy killed members of this Jewish family and then killed a 4-year-old Jewish girl found hiding with a Catholic family.
Then Cozy took out a pistol and he shot the girl.
After the war, Cozy, posing as a displaced person, a victim of the Nazis, became an American citizen and retired in Fort Lauderdale. When he got in trouble, Cozy was able to hire one of Miami's top lawyers to put on a court fight for 4 years until Cozy was finally stripped of his citizenship and ordered deported. Cozy's lawyer, Philip Carlton, says it was wrong to prosecute Cozy so many years after his alleged crimes.
I don't say we should ever forget the Holocaust. However, there comes a time in life when we must set that history aside.
I'd like Mr. Carlton to tell that to the victims.
But Justice Department prosecutor Neil Scher says Cozy's crimes should never be forgotten.
For this little girl, the single girl who Cozy murdered, and for the family that he murdered, and for their relatives, Cozy was the Holocaust.
American authorities became aware of Cozy's whereabouts 6 months ago and immediately asked the Costa Rican government to deport him. But for months, the Costa Ricans did nothing until American officials this week finally made public the fact that Cozy was in Costa Rica. Late yesterday, apparently embarrassed Costa Rican officials announced that Cozy would be deported. But there was a problem. By the time Costa Ricans got to Cozy's house, he was gone. His gardening shoes left on the porch, and inside, a coffee cup, cigarettes, and eyeglasses on the kitchen table. Once again, authorities have failed to bring Boudin Cozy to justice. Still another of hundreds of accused Nazi war criminals at large living well in the United States and Latin America. Brian Ross, NBC News, San Jose, Costa Rica.
Lunchtime. Everybody's in a hurry. If I'm going to get them back to work on time, I got to stay on my toes. And if there's one thing I don't want, it's a lot of caffeine. So Sanka's the only coffee on my coffee break.
Now that's a good cup of coffee.
And like I said, Sanka doesn't have all that caffeine. That way, I can give them fast service with a smile.
The coffee that lets you be your best. Sanka brand decaffeinated coffee.
Which cereal has more vitamin nutrition than any other? Kellogg's Product 19 cereal, but you'd never guess.
Oh.
Because Product 19 vitamins are flaky, bumpy, crispy, crunchy, and taste so good. Product 19 goodness comes from corn, oats, wheat, and rice.
Delicious.
Kellogg's Product 19.
Flaky.
Bumpy.
Crispy. Crunchy.
Tasty vitamins.
We asked 1,000 doctors if they were stranded on a desert island, which one medicine would they want along? Tylenol, extra strength Tylenol, Advil, or Bayer? Doctors chose Bayer more than any other. Nearly 2 to 1 over extra strength Tylenol, more than 8 to 1 over Advil. Doctors chose Bayer, the wonder drug, shouldn't you? Bayer, the wonder drug that works wonders.
Doctors at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore may have discovered a major breakthrough in the treatment of a deadly form of cancer, cancer of the liver. James Polk has more tonight.
Until now, cancer of the liver, unless operable, has been a quick and incurable killer.
Everybody dies, and they die very rapidly.
In January, this Mississippi housewife was told she had liver cancer that had spread to her lungs.
The doctor told me I had 18 months, which I think was probably stretching it.
But as this computer display shows at Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, after only 2 treatments, the tumor in her liver has shrunk by 40%, and the cancer is gone from her lungs.
I feel fine. I can lead a perfectly normal life.
I think it's just the beginning.
Dr. Stanley Order leads the Baltimore research team, which may have made a major breakthrough against liver cancer. The doctors attach radioisotopes to antibodies, which seek out a protein found inside the cancer and carry the radiation deep inside the tumors.
What this has allowed us to do is deposit radiation selectively in the cancer.
These slides show a woman's tumor weighing 16 pounds. The treatment reduced it to 2 pounds. There is only a 50-50 chance the antibody treatment will shrink liver tumors, but those are better odds than ever before. And the doctors say the treatment may work against some other types of cancer, such as Hodgkin's disease.
Everyone knows that we can target a variety of human cancers. There is no limit.
While the treatment is still experimental, doctors say it may be available to the public in a year. James Polk, NBC News, Baltimore.
There was some good news for AIDS patients in Los Angeles today. The city council there unanimously passed an ordinance protecting the rights of people who suffer from AIDS. But as Heidi Schulman reports tonight, fear of this disease is making discrimination all too common.
Garrett Freeman has AIDS. When they learned that, an ambulance crew called to his house one night refused to take him. His roommate drove him to the county hospital.
I was so ill. He asked one of the attendants, he told him that I had AIDS, and the person said outright, "I'm not touching him." Just like that.
Freeman is confined at home with an attendant. His employer fired him when he only suspected he had AIDS. His friends have dropped him. His ex-wife is afraid for their daughters.
When was the last time you hugged the children, and are the kids going to get AIDS, and this and that, but she won't let me see them anymore.
How long has it been since you've seen them?
Probably about 2.5 years.
George McGurn, who takes care of Freeman, experiences the same rejection, even though he does not have AIDS.
Yes, my landlord had suggested that since I would be working with AIDS patients, would I calmly not use the washer and dryer?
That kind of fear is common as AIDS cases increase. Despite the fact that expert medical opinion says the disease cannot be spread through casual contact, AIDS victims are shunned.
People with AIDS are treated like lepers in more than one case. I mean, it's not at all uncommon for us to get calls from people who were fired from their jobs, who were canceled their insurance companies, their families asked them to leave their home. I mean, anything you can imagine in terms of people being afraid and not wanting to get near someone happens to people with AIDS.
Lawyers Lee Walker and Peter Laura represent several AIDS patients with job problems.
We find very often they face discrimination, whether it's harassment from coworkers, or whether it's termination, or whether just a change in job assignment.
We had another case where an employee actually told the employer in person that he had AIDS. The employer then flew into a rage and started yelling at this person to get out and never come back.
Some AIDS patients have been thrown out by their dentists, forced to seek treatment at public clinics where masks and rubber gloves are standard procedure. Scott was able to find a new dentist, but he won't be able to see his new nephew, and he says that hurts the most. The child's pediatrician feared Scott would give the baby AIDS.
How can you blame people for ignorance, for not understanding? I blame them for thinking they have a right to tell somebody else who he can see and who he can't. They certainly have a right to decide they'd rather not be around me.
And yet you're the victim of their ignorance.
You're damn right.
AIDS Project workers hope public education will end the myths about AIDS, but Scott's case proves that until doctors themselves know more about the disease, the fear and discrimination will likely remain. Heidi Schulman, NBC News, Los Angeles.
The Teamsters Union late today announced a tentative agreement in its strike against the trucking companies that ship new cars. The 3-week-old strike has already begun having an effect on new car sales, which are down 10% so far this month.
The good life in America means reaching for your dream.
Millions of Americans will enjoy their leisure years more because of the Equitable. We're one of the nation's largest managers of pension funds. America's keeper of dreams.
We are the Equitable. Yes, we'll help you live the good life. We are the Equitable. We can help your dreams come true.
What an amazing sight.
It's even more dazzling than I remember. There's the Empire State Building. What's the matter?
They're not here. The traveler's checks. They're gone. The traveler's checks.
Excuse me. They have one of those refund machines, American Express, at the airport.
They weren't American Express.
We've got no money.
Welcome to New York.
Only American Express can give refunds at traveler's check machines in most major U.S. airports. Don't leave home without them.
You've been traded, Rolaids, for acid and gas. Your performance is not up to tempo.
Sorry, but you're fired, Malox. You don't work hard enough. I'm switching to Tempo.
Our relationship is over, Tums. I found someone better. Tempo.
For better relief from acid and gas, people everywhere are switching to Tempo. Its soft form holds 75% more acid-relieving medicine than Rolaids. And soft Tempo dissolves fast. Switch to better relief. Switch to soft Tempo.
I'm glad I found you.
South Africa plans to make at least some kind of gesture tomorrow to end the violence which took place today in 13 townships and resulted in 2 more deaths. There is speculation the government will release Nelson Mandela, the most prominent black opposition leader. But Mandela wants no strings attached. John Cochran has more tonight.
Winnie Mandela gets to see her husband about twice a month for 40 minutes, all that he is permitted after 22 years in prison. But he told her that if released unconditionally, he would be willing to negotiate with white officials.
He has always been open to any measure that would solve the country's problems peacefully.
Today, another clash between police and young white protesters seemed near, but police are more cautious now. Someone in authority has decided that white police bashing white heads is not good public relations. Bishop Desmond Tutu.
I think it has not happened too frequently in the past for the police to assault white students. And that might begin to make people realize that we are in it together.
This is what the South African national anthem would sound like if blacks took control. And these are white students trying to show their solidarity with young blacks. Some do it easily. Some seem uncomfortable. Maybe it's just unfamiliarity with the tribal language Sotho. Maybe it's more than that. Not all white students like the idea of black control, but many think it's coming and they hope to avoid a racial war.
We all have to change. We have to compromise, and we have to compromise our own white, high standard of living. Otherwise, that's it. It'll be a sad end to an amazing country.
President P.W. Botha and his cabinet know the country is in trouble. Today, they decided how far Botha can go in his long-awaited speech tomorrow to pacify blacks and foreign governments who threaten sanctions and boycotts. But how far can the government go without losing the backing of most whites, especially conservative white Afrikaners? The early Afrikaner settlers were brave but stubborn. When threatened, Afrikaners historically have circled the wagons, trusted no one but themselves, and scorned compromise. All the debate over economic sanctions and boycotts is based on guesswork as to how the white Afrikaner would respond to pressure. But no one really knows. Probably not even the Afrikaner himself. John Cochran, NBC News, Pretoria.
In Vietnam today, 2 wooden boxes were turned over to a delegation from the United States. In them were remains believed to be those of U.S. servicemen missing in action in the Vietnam War. The boxes were briefly examined, and from Hanoi, the remains were flown to the Philippines. They will be brought to Hawaii for analysis tomorrow. Vietnam indicated that it will let a high-level U.S. delegation visit Hanoi later this month to discuss the MIA issue. 60 years ago, John Willard Marriott left a Utah sheep ranch with $500 and opened a 9-stool root beer stand in Washington. He died today at the age of 84. His company last year did $84 billion in business. The crew of the latest shuttle mission today announced the results of the newest version of the Cola Wars. This is Space Cola. They said that Coke's zero-gravity can or container worked better than Pepsi's, but as for taste, both soft drinks lost. The reason? No refrigeration. As Commander Gordon Fullerton said, warm cola is not on anyone's list of favorite things. Also not on that list, especially during these hot summer days, is the uniform of the business world. Coat and tie for the men, high heels, hose, serious dresses for women. Well, the new fun-loving mayor of Portland, Oregon has decided enough of all of that, and Frank Burkholzer was there for the undressing.
Now, therefore, be it resolved...
The mayor proclaimed it.
Forward, Portland lays claim to being America's most comfortable city.
And the mayor displayed the new non-dress code. At his City Hall office, the staff eagerly followed his lead. Members of the City Council dressed as they pleased. There was one negative vote. Even at conservative offices like Coldwell Banker Real Estate, inhibitions were shed. The executives of First Interstate Bank left their pinstripes at home. All over town, office workers loved dressing as they pleased and already regretted the return to normality.
Tomorrow it's back to the pantyhose and the high heels and the dresses. Darn it. Excuse me here. Good morning, called a bank here?
Until today, only Portland knew what kind of people lived in Portland. Now everybody knows. Frank Burkholzer, NBC News, in Portland, Oregon.
Where does Kellogg's Apple Raisin Crisp cereal get its homemade taste?
Homemade taste?
Does Apple Raisin Crisp get its homemade taste from apples like Grandma baked?
Tastes like my recipe.
Does Apple Raisin Crisp get its homemade taste from the raisins that sweeten its taste?
I love raisins.
Do the big crisp flakes with the apples baked on bring on that crunchy taste?
Apples baked on the flakes.
Where does Apple Raisin Crisp get its delicious homemade taste?
Only from Kellogg's.
Thanks a lot, Citibank. You had to make your Visa and MasterCards better than other banks. Only your cards offer city dining. Saves my boss and his wife 20% at restaurants all over town. So now he can take a bunch of the guys out to dinner. But he still can't take his mind off of work.
All right, boys, let's all step up to the plate. Dig in. And remember, it's all in the wrist. In the wrist.
Visa and MasterCard from Citibank.
Keep your eye on the meatball.
It's the bank that makes them better.
Tonight on Highway to Heaven.
Lizzie got cancer.
I married you for the money.
Lizzie's lie splits their marriage. Can Jonathan unite them in time?
You'll see.
Tonight.
No, this crew gets heartburn. And when they do, there's no time to stop. No wonder so many people take Rolaids. With Rolaids, you can keep going. Rolaids spells 100% relief.
Now, another way to spell relief. Use sodium-free Rolaids. Like regular Rolaids, it consumes all the acid required to bring millions 100% relief. Plus, it's rich in calcium. Regular Rolaids and use sodium-free Rolaids for 100% relief.
America's war with Japan ended 40 years ago today, August 15th, 1945. But the bitter memories die hard, and with good reason. When I interviewed Japanese Prime Minister Nakasone last week as part of our special edition on the bombing of Hiroshima, I received a number of letters complaining that the coverage was too sympathetic to the Japanese. Here are parts of two of those letters. Mrs. B.W. Thompson of El Paso, Texas wrote, "How is it that you feel the need to interview the Prime Minister of Japan on the bombing of Hiroshima rather than our survivors of their unspeakable, inhumane atrocities? Why didn't you ask the Prime Minister what he was thinking about at the time the Japanese struck Pearl Harbor?" Charles D. Masters of Great Falls, Virginia, sent us a copy of a letter that he sent to President Reagan. In it, he wrote, "President Truman ordered what he had to do to spare the world from the inhumanity of continued war." There was so much bitterness built up during that war with Japan that when it was ended, the joy was unrestrained, perfectly symbolized in this picture by Life magazine photographer Alfred Eisenstadt. As John Hart remembers with us tonight, there was much to be happy about.
The day Japan surrendered was the last day of the war that had killed 53 million people around the world. Americans couldn't think of enough ways to express their relief. In World War II, now finally ending, 300,000 Americans had been killed, almost half of them while fighting the Japanese Empire on the islands of the Pacific, or on the seas in between. For much of the time, it had seemed a precarious war. For the first half of the war, against a better-equipped enemy, better fighter planes, better torpedoes. American torpedoes had not even been tested with live warheads. Americans introduced the flamethrower, effective against machine gun nests. Japan produced the kamikaze pilots who toasted their emperor, then made suicide dives on American ships. It was against Japanese military law to surrender, and Americans saw them jumping off cliffs to avoid capture after losing a battle. It was easy for Americans to see the Japanese as fanatical and less than human. A sample of newsreel language.
Emperor Hirohito leads the LYBs, the little yellow bellies who claim the rising sun for their own.
The Japanese saw the war as racial too.
The Anglo-Saxon dream was shattered. They could not even put up a feather.
A Japanese propaganda film in English on the fall of Singapore, where English was spoken.
100,000 prisoners line up in neat rows. This spectacle symbolizes the downfall of Britain and the rise of the power of Asia.
Americans found it easy to hate their enemies. When the Philippines fell and 20,000 Americans were captured, almost half of them died in Japanese prison camps. It was acceptable to most Americans that Tokyo be set afire with phosphorus bombs, and that 130,000 Japanese civilians die in one firebombing, more than either of the atom bombs killed shortly thereafter. Altogether, Japan lost more than 1 million fighting men, more than 500,000 civilians, and all its pride. By the time the celebrations were over, and the GIs were coming home, Americans were already getting warnings of World War III.
Do we not owe it to ourselves, to our children, to tormented mankind, to make sure that these catastrophes do not engulf us for the third time?
The day Japan surrendered was the last day of the war that took 6 years to kill 53 million people. John Hart, NBC News, New York.
That's Nightly News for Wednesday. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.
A special summer celebration, Today at Night, featuring highlights of today's past year, including its trip to Moscow, to Rome, and to America's heartland. Now Today goes prime time with the hottest duo on television, Crockett and Tubbs of Miami Vice, plus Tip O'Neill as you've never seen him before. So join the Today family for Today at Night, Monday.
Up next on The Scene at 6, the state must pay part of the cost of